Well, first of all, what kind of mythical powers does a Sun Devil have? We got to consider that.
You all don't remember the Georgia Southern game, do you?
You know, I hope there's Bigfoot. I don't think there is.
Like rat poison. All right, so
it's Division I football. It ain't
intramurals. All right, we are back. It's the Hoppy Huddle podcast. I'm Jake. That's Ed. And today we are tackling with full might the second half of the ACC because there are no more divisions and there is chaos. And we have got some great teams to talk about. We've got some not so great teams to talk about, but this is college football. And so we're going to talk about them all because if you're only following the 5 best teams in college football, you're not doing it right.
Nope.
It's going to be a great show.
We had a podcast earlier this week, last night, in fact, talking about half the ACC. Go back and listen to that. But we talked about Clemson, some other programs. Tonight, we got a lot of other programs to cover. So
yes, we do. Not a ton happening in the college football world. Very interesting. Little bit of recruiting news. The number 1 overall player in the 2027 class, edge rusher, has committed to Texas Tech. This is a little concerning if you're a fellow Big 12 fan, but also great for the Big 12 if you're a Big 12 fan because, Texas Tech is spending the money and closing. They're on track to close some of that gap with some of the larger programs, and a huge win for Texas Tech and pretty significant being a number 1 overall player and committing to a school that has never gone to a conference championship game. Just a little dig at them. Yeah, I'm Baylor fan. Whatever. But Cody Campbell, they're cooking out there in West Texas, and be interesting to see what the rest of that shapes up. But that's only college major news that's happened today.
Yeah,
but
training camps are going. People are getting nothing else major. But So let's talk ACC. ACC. Before we get going to the teams, ACC's got a big week 1. They got a lot of matchups against ACC versus SEC in week 1, and they got to show up. And ACC can't look bad week 1, or else it could doom them come playoff time,
or help them. If they do well, you never know
if they get certain matchups. But
you never know. But I think. Go ahead. I think we start out with the elephant in the room, the missing program from last night. The Miami Hurricanes. Did not touch on them yesterday because we got to leave something for today. And Mario Cristobal's Miami Hurricanes, I think it's fair to say they broke through last year. They, Heisman Trophy finalists, 10-win season, number 1 offense. But even still, at the end of the season, it kind of felt like they came up short, considering they missed the ACC Championship game. They missed the college football playoff. They had a lot of close games, some of which they won, a couple of which they lost. And then this has kind of been a theme in previous Mario Cristobal teams, if you look over his history, although he has gotten better as an in-game coach. He's certainly not perfect. Cam Ward goes on to the NFL. And they bring in the golden transfer quarterback, Carson Beck. The big guy from Georgia. They spent $1 gazillion to bring him in. And if you followed the podcast at all last year, you know my opinion on Carson Beck. And so you know where I'm going to go with this. But I'm going to let Ed take this for a second. Just toss it over to you to get your take on Miami.
Well, Miami is the second favorite to win this conference behind Clemson.
Yeah.
They, in all the preseason coaches polls and the AP polls come out, they are generally in the top 12, 13 teams in the country. So it's not just me that thinks highly of this team. I know last night you did not think this team was capable. You kind of hinted at it. I think this team is capable of making the ACC Championship. And I think you're wrong, dead wrong, okay? This is a talented ball club. First of all, this was the number 1 scoring offense last year. And I know their receivers are gone, and I know Cam Ward's gone. But what's not gone is this offensive line.
That's true.
This may be one of the best offensive lines in the country. Carson Beck was playing like with the JV team in Georgia with their wide receivers. Okay. those wide receivers had more drops than you and me and your brothers playing in the backyard. Okay. He's going to have, they've got with CJ Daniels, they've got the position room here is going to be much better with some of these young wide receivers. They've got decent backs and Mark Fletcher and Jordan Lyle. This offense, I think it's going to be a more traditional Cristobal offense. But I think if Carson Beck's healthy, we're going to see the Carson Beck of 2 years ago, not the Carson Beck of last year. This was a guy that was talked about as a first-round draft pick. I think he's good enough to not repeat with Cam Ward. But don't think this is going to be Cam Ward. It's not.
Oh, I never thought that.
I know you did. No, you didn't. But this Carson Beck is good enough. A healthy Carson Beck is good enough to lead this offense with the talent around them to be a team that's competitive both in the ACC and nationally. Now, let's turn the tide. What killed this team last year was what? What hurt this team?
One score games, their defense?
No, well, yes, but it was the defense, particularly the back end of the defense. First of all, they got rid of Lance Guidry. Okay, they got rid of him. They hired Corey Heatherman, who's an upgraded defense coordinator. He's going to allow them to play more freely, depend on their talent. They're going to be better. I think it's going to be a better flow for the defense. Secondly, it was their secondary last year. The secondary was just awful. They couldn't stop anybody. They went out and got 5 4-star transfers in that back end. Their back end immediately got better over this offseason.
Yes, their secondary is definitely better. Absolutely.
And all they need is not to just, they didn't need to go from here to here. They just needed to go from here to here, slightly better, and they're going to be a better ball club. The defensive line is already outstanding. They've got 2 great pairs at the end, especially Bain there on the end.
Ruben Bain will be a menace. Absolutely. There's no doubt about that.
If they get any help on that back, if that back end can just deliver a little bit, this defense is going to be tough. Now, we need to talk about their schedule a little bit. Can you throw that up there? Do you have the charts like you did last night?
Yes. Yeah, I got let me throw up the Miami schedule.
Okay. Now, we got week 1 Notre Dame. This is a big game because I think it's a big game as far as momentum goes. I think they need to show up. September is going to, those first few weeks, September is going to be difficult. Notre Dame and then Florida. But after that, I think the schedule opens up for them. I mean, really Florida State, Louisville is going to be in Miami. You get Stanford, which is just a bottom feeder. At SMU, okay, difficult, but everything else lines up perfectly for them. I think this is a team. This team is my pick to play Clemson in the title game. I think this team looks like a 10-win team, maybe even 11-1. My guess is 10-2, probably losses to Notre Dame and Florida, and I think they go undefeated in the ACC.
Well, that's certainly possible considering they missed Clemson. Yes. I would caution that. I agree that their defense is going to be that. Let's start with what I agree with. Their defense will be much improved. I agree with that completely. I think their offensive line will be very good. They're unproven at receiver. They have some young talented guys, but again, can they catch? Do you really want Carson? How was Carson Beck throwing the last time he was throwing to a bunch of talented, unproven guys? That Tommy John surgery is no joke, right? Is he back to 100% health? What if he's only 70%? Sometimes the surgeries affects your motion, your rotation, the way that you throw the ball, the way that you grip the ball. So Carson Beck, we don't know what we're going to get from him. We don't. And Miami could definitely, compete for that second spot in the ACC championship. I just don't have faith that Cam Ward really saved them and got that offense and got them out of a lot of problems. Now he put them into some problems as well, but
they were in problems because of that defense and that back end in particularly.
Yes, but they also they got into some situations where they weren't the most methodical, always 2nd and 5, 3rd and 1 type of offense. They had a big explosive plays, but they would get into some negative situations that Cam Ward was able to get them out of. And I just don't think Carson Beck, if the offense functions in a similar way, I don't think Carson Beck has that same ability to get them out. And so I expect a steep drop back on offense. I see them more as a I see them more as like an 8-4, 9-3 team. I think Notre Dame will beat them. I think Florida will beat them. I think Louisville will beat them, and I think SMU will beat them as my prediction.
I don't know what's in your water there. You're crazy. Okay, they are stockpiling talent unlike
they are absolutely stockpiling talent, and I just don't think. But the most important position, I don't have faith in Carson Beck. He's got to prove it to me, and so this is all contingent on Carson Beck not being, the Carson Beck of 2 years ago, right? And so my prediction with Miami's offense, and really Miami as a whole, completely hinges on Carson Beck, as it should, him being the quarterback that they paid $1 gazillion for. So I'm fully able to admit I was wrong if Carson Beck turns out to be good.
This is a sport all about a talent. Okay, they're one of 6 programs in the country that has put together a top 5 recruiting class at high school and a top 25 portal class in 23, 24, 25.
The 25. Don't talk to me about the 25 portal class. 25 portal class was terrible.
Okay, I understand that, but they are putting talent. Ohio State. There are so few teams that can put that kind of talent on the field. They're one of them. So all you have to do out of Carson Beck is not get 23 Carson Beck, just get 22 or maybe partially a 22 Carson Beck, and you're going to win 9 of those games. The over under Vegas is 9.5. This is a 10-win team. I'm telling you.
I think it's probably a 9-win team.
Well,
I would go under.
Difference between us, and we're right where Vegas has it. So that's why they built those casinos in Vegas. So
yeah. I think there's a lot of it'll come down to quarterback. I think we'll see. Again, we'll see. I'm not wishing evil on Miami, but I'm just not a Carson Beck believer, and I'll have to see it to believe it. But again, as we always say, like, the one game on the field gives you more information than an entire offseason of articles. So if Carson Beck comes out and looks amazing against Notre Dame and they beat Notre Dame, which I don't think will happen, then all bets are off and it's off to the races.
Yeah, I think I'm a believer in this Miami team. I think they are now where they're going to slide in as far as the playoff. My concern with the ACC. And this gets more into, we're going to have a podcast on the playoffs, and I haven't quite done all the math yet. I'm concerned the ACC may be a 1-bid league this year.
It'll depend on how it breaks down, but the way I picked a lot of these games is I end up getting a huge bunch of teams at 8-4 and 9-3. I think I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams at 8-4, 9-3 combined. And that just kind of like blows your chances at getting a lot of multiple playoff bids. There could be a lot of cannibalism towards that in the second and third-ish tiers of the ACC behind.
Well, I'm not even sure if they go 10-2 and lose to Notre Dame and Florida, and then lose to Clemson in the ACC Championship. I'm not sure that's enough to even get them to the playoffs.
That's not. No, it's absolutely not.
It may or may not be. It was this past year, but I'm not sure this year it will be.
Yeah.
We'll see. Not in a 12-team format. So,
yeah.
Okay. All right. So where are we going to next?
I think we need to go to the great state of Kentucky with Jeff Brom and the Louisville Cardinals. My thoughts on Jeff Brom is he's a fantastic offensive coach. He is kind of he's the giant killer. Got that win against Clemson last year. Pretty good season last year. Made the most of what they do. And Jeff Brom kind of does that. He kind of cobbles together squads and then maximizes their potential. They've got Miller Moss coming in at quarterback, and they've got a couple transfer wide receivers. We'll see. Isaac Brown, the running back there, was really good last year. And their defense should be at least improved up front. They've kind of struggled in the secondary last year, and they brought in some transfers, but we'll see how well that really meshes. I do think you can't really, even though Louisville, I think, has the potential to win any game individually on their schedule. I don't think you can really put them in that upper tier simply because Jeff Brom has never shown the consistency to go an entire season as an elite team. And that's partly because of where he's coached. And I think he's doing a good job acquiring talent at Louisville, but I just don't think the talent is there yet. And so I have them about 8-5. See if I can pull up the Louisville schedule here. I have them about 8-5. And so, yeah, I have they have pretty easy start out, pretty easy runway. I think they could very easily be 5-0 going into that Miami game. Depending how that Pitt game goes, I think that'll be huge. I think, if they beat Miami, which I think they will, just because if you look at in-game scenarios, Jeff Brom is clearly a plus EV in-game coach, and Mario Cristobal, while getting better, is still I would say a game day negative head coach. He's gotten better. I acknowledge it. He has gotten better. He's almost neutral. I mean, maybe you could say neutral, but Jeff Brom's clearly plus, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's a real scenario where they come out of Miami, a serious contender for the ACC Championship game. I think they will probably drop some random games, as they tend to do. Like that at Virginia Tech game definitely seems like the kind of game on the road like that they could drop. Not that I'm high on Virginia Tech, but versus Clemson will be another. I have them losing that, and the at SMU game probably as well, and maybe a random loss in there, maybe somewhere else. So I have them about 8-4. I could definitely see 9-3. And then there's a scenario where it all comes together. I guess this is probably dependent on what you think of Miller Moss, where they make the ACC Championship game, although I'm not necessarily predicting it.
Yeah, to me, yeah. I mean, Jeff Brom is one of the more underrated coaches in the country.
Yeah,
I mean, what he
absolutely.
does at Louisville is pretty amazing. They don't have a lot of returning production. I think this team, especially defensively, all the cornerbacks and safeties are gone from last year. Not that it was a great group. I think it was a decent group, but I mean, it wasn't even that good of a group. However, they're all gone. And so I think they're really having to reload parts of both the defensive line and the secondary. I think that's a challenge. I mean, basically, the whole defense has to be rebuilt. Yeah. And then you get to Miller Moss. I think Miller Moss, he had that great bowl game the year before, finishing the 23 season. That gave him the starting job at USC. And his stat line at USC wasn't terrible last year for the first 9 games, but he threw 18 touchdowns, but he threw 9 picks. And I think that's what kind of Lincoln Riley kind of said, enough's enough. I do think Jeff Brom is a quarterback whisperer, but so is Lincoln Riley. So if you're not really working for Lincoln Riley, are you going to be that much better in Jeff Brom's offense? I just don't think so. I think that's what worries me a little bit about this team. But you look at that schedule.
The competition's easier for Miller Moss. Like what secondary is on there really scare you? Miami and Clemson?
That's Clemson.
It? SMU secondary is not horrible.
I think you and I had disagreement on Pitt. I think Pitt's going to be a harder out this year for people than you think.
Again, I have 8-4. I see
and maybe SMU. So you got 4 tough games. They go 1-3. They're looking at a 9-3 record, I think, even on probably because I don't think Kentucky's that good this year.
But I do think it's likely Jeff Brom will jump up and get somebody out of those.
Yeah. So I mean, I think 9-3 is very possible. Yeah. Vegas has 8.5. I think if they beat Pitt early on and then they somehow beat Miami, I mean, this team's going to finish second in the ACC. I mean, I think that's pretty clear at that point. But I think so if they go into that Miami game undefeated and they're playing well, who knows? But I still feel like this is probably an 8-win team, maybe 9 wins. I just don't see. I think there's too many. I would have been happy if last year's team was playing this year. I would have felt much better. I think that last year's team could go and finish second in the ACC. I just don't know this year's team. There's too many gaps to overcome, and I don't like where they've got to go play those games. They got to go at Miami, at Pitt, at SMU. The only one they got coming is Clemson, and this is not the year you'd want Clemson. I think while they beat the tar off Clemson last year, I don't like the fact they've got to go. I just don't think this is this year's team, Clemson's team. You'd rather be playing last year's Clemson team.
Yep, totally agree there.
Yeah.
Well, I think next up we should talk about everyone's darling of college football, the Duke Blue Devils. They're a great story and a great team. And they've kind of gotten past the point of being a great story. They've had 4 straight really good seasons now. 9-win season last year. Manny Diaz has them really rolling. They have a pretty nasty defense, honestly. He does a good job with that. And they spent big in the transfer portal to bring in one of the best quarterbacks in the portal, Darian Mensah from Tulane. He was excellent last year at Tulane. And he's going to be – man, Duke will be a force to be reckoned with in the ACC this year. They are going to be a good team. I'm very high on Duke. I think they got a running back, Thomas from New Mexico State, who is also really good. And their defense is pretty senior and junior heavy. They've got a got old, stay old kind of strategy. They're going to be pretty good in the secondary, decent up front as well. And if he can do 9 wins with Malik Murphy, Darian Mensah is a clear upgrade there. Not to mention the fact that if you let me pull up the schedule here. Not to mention the fact that they weakened their week 3 opponent by taking him as quarterback. So I think, they don't have that, relatively, they don't have that easy of a schedule, but I think they're going to be a really solid team and they're going to be competitive in, I would say, almost every game that they play, even though they've kind of got a gauntlet towards the middle of the season.
Duke has dudes on defense.
They do.
Rivers was an All-American. He's a baller, and the rest of those guys in the secondary and the linebacker are good.
Yeah.
Do not sleep on Duke. They're better than half the ACC. They're more consistent. They're winning over 7 games a year now. This could be the 4th straight year at least they're winning 7 games. So we talk about some of the other programs in the ACC who think they're football schools. Duke's a football school now. Let's just say it.
And what was preventing any of the other teams in the ACC from going out and getting Darian Mensah? Nothing. Duke just wanted it. Duke wants it.
ACC, other programs in the country.
Right. Like, why didn't there are a lot of schools where you're like, I'd rather have Darian Mensah as QB than who they currently got. Like, what are they doing?
Listen, Tennessee would have loved to have Darian Mensah, especially when Nico left. This was and they spent money. Duke spent money. This was a bidding war. They went out and got him. Mensah is going to make them. He is clearly an upgrade over Malik Murphy. Now, Duke's rushing attack was abysmal last year, so I don't know how they're going to fix that. It was just flat out
probably
terrible.
With some QB run from Mensah.
Yeah, maybe so. So I don't know what to expect offensively from that perspective, but I think when Mensah is going to give them solid play at quarterback, the defense they're never going to be out of games with this defense. So. And then you look at the schedule there. Illinois is, we'll get to Big Ten later, I think, starting Sunday night.
That's going to be a tough game.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough game. And Illinois is a good program, a really good program.
Yeah.
But
honestly, a lot of similarities between Illinois and Duke.
There are. But you know what? If you're Illinois, you can't take Duke for granted.
Absolutely not. No.
But then go down the rest of that schedule. Tell me who they can't. Tell me who's a double-digit. After Illinois, tell me who's a double-digit favorite other than Clemson over them. Nobody.
It's just Clemson.
It's Clemson. So, I'm always the optimist. I could see a 10-2 team here.
I think they'll be favored against everybody except.
I don't know. They're probably not favored against Georgia Tech. They're not.
Maybe not at Syracuse, Georgia Tech, and Carolina. Maybe.
I don't know about Carolina. They might be favored.
Who knows what look at the end of the season there.
This clearly. What's the over/under here on Vegas? Let's see. Let's see where we got with Duke. I think is it 8.5.
I have them at 9.4.
6.5. That is
6. Wait,
it's 6.5. Yes, 6.5.
Make a mental note here or a physical.
Yeah. Let's place that. Can I place that bet while we're on the show live?
I didn't even realize that. Man, 6.5, dude. Easy over, man.
Yeah. 6.5 is a piece of cake. That to me, that's stealing candy. That's.
A hypothetical bet. Being in Texas.
Yeah. So, 6. This is an easy one, I think, to go over. I think Duke's going to be again a 7-8 win team. They could get to 9. I thought last year they won 9 games, and I thought it was a crime that nobody was even talking about them for a potential playoff.
They honestly, they were a few plays away from being 10 wins.
Yeah, and again, their losses last year were to Miami, SMU, and Georgia Tech, teams that were pretty good last year.
Yeah.
And then then they lost in the bowl game.
I have Duke at 9-4. I have them. I wanted so bad to put them in the ACC title game. I just couldn't. I couldn't make it happen with the way the schedule worked out, and then they got a tough schedule and the teams they play. But if somehow they ended up in, is it still in Charlotte? Are we still do that? Yeah.
Yes, we still are.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me if they changed that at some point. But it would not surprise. Like, I would not be totally shocked if they end up in Charlotte at the end of the season, even though I can't really quite figure out which games they would do and how the math would work on that. But they're going to upset somebody for sure. Like Clemson better watch out. Georgia Tech better watch out. Syracuse, Carolina, both better watch out. Like Duke is coming.
Yeah,
and they're here.
No, this is a program. None of those teams. Now again, you never know how this plays out, but I think this is a pretty good program.
Also, Manny Diaz is a really good coach.
Yeah, and I wonder, he puts another 8-win, 9-win season. How long does he stay at Duke?
Somebody's going to hire him, right? Like,
I mean, think about, there's going to be some SEC jobs opening up. Will Auburn be opening up? Would they hire Manny Diaz?
They might. He recruits decently at Duke.
Yeah, I mean, he recruited decently in Miami. Miami gave up on him just because they went and got Cristobal. But, depends on what jobs open up. I could see Manny being in the mix.
Michigan?
No, well, he's not going to Michigan. But
no, I know. I'm trolling. We it's called we do a little trolling a little bit.
That's right.
But all right. I think time to go to Chapel Hill and check on what's happening with Unc Bill, UNC, and the Tar Heels.
This just seems weird. This is just weird.
What kind of alternate universe are we in that Bill Belichick is the head coach of the North Carolina Tar Heels? Like, his OC is Chip Lindsey. Like, what are we doing here?
Marty's the general manager.
What is going on? What kind of this is what happens when you let the simulator run too long in College Football 25 in a college football video game, and you just get a bunch of weird people in weird places. I like Bill Belichick. I hope they do well there. I have no earthly idea how it's going to work because we've never seen Bill Belichick coach in college. He's clearly he is a schematic guy. He's incredibly brilliant on the chalkboard. How well is his complicated defenses going to translate to college students? Student athletes playing them. We'll see. They've gotten some guys. They did. Who's the quarterback they brought in? Was it Lopez?
Gio Lopez.
Gio Lopez, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think he had. Gio had a pretty good breakout freshman season. He's a dual threat guy. I think that was probably a pretty good pickup. I don't think everybody kind of slid under the radar. Probably not a bad addition to the program. Yeah.
I think they'll probably, you can count on them having a good defense. It'll be interesting to see how that offense runs. I don't have any frame of reference for where to place Carolina.
Well, the hard part is the number of transfer portal people they took is I wrote that down somewhere. I'm looking at my notes.
And that's again, this is another one of these transfer heavy teams that's going to have a really wide delta of possible outcomes.
I feel like they are one of the top teams in division in the Power Four. I want to say it was 50 or 60 different new players in the system. So, this is a whole, you got all these players that have never played together before. So how's this going to work? We don't know.
It could go well.
It could go very well. It could work out very well. And again, I think Gio Lopez it could look like Indiana from last year. We just don't know. I don't know that all the players they brought in are the talent level to be competitive at the top end of the ACC, but throw up their schedule here.
With good coaching, I think a lot of those players can beat up on some of the bottom of the ACC, which is kind of why I have them in the middle.
You only get 20 hours a week. That to me is going to be Belichick's frustration. But the schedule, TCU TCU.
I think they'd probably lose to TCU. I think
TCU's a better team. They're obviously,
yeah.
a veteran team. But then after that, then you do have Clemson, but you have some winnable games there. UCF,
Charlotte, Richmond, UCF should be
UCF
wins.
is one of those other programs that's brought in a ton of
UCF
people.
is rebuilding. I don't consider them a threat this year.
But then after that, Cal, Virginia, Syracuse, Stanford, Wake, Duke, North Carolina State.
Like that's a lot of the bottom of the ACC.
That
right
is
there.
the bottom of the ACC. It's all the bottom.
Right.
That is if you define the bottom, the only thing you're missing is Virginia Tech at that bottom.
I think, like I said, I think they could probably lose to Duke and Syracuse depending on how those games go.
But you avoid Louisville, you avoid SMU, you avoid Miami.
Yeah,
I mean, you're avoiding the top.
I think the storylines will be interesting to watch. The biggest thing will probably be that October 4th game against Clemson. If Carolina makes it there undefeated, they'll be ranked. And that will be a ranked matchup and a big TV moment because Bill Belichick, Clemson, Dabo Sweeney, it'll be the whole story. And then they'll probably lose by 30 just from talent difference. But again, it'll be interesting to see. I don't know if they'll make it there undefeated. My guess is probably not, but that'll be a big storyline game and a lot of eyeballs will be on that one.
Yeah, I think it's I don't know. I think it'll be an interesting year. I think you look at that count, they're probably going 7-5 would be my guess. There's going to be a few losses on there.
Yeah, I have them at 7-5, 8-4.
That feels about right for this
which
team.
Which kind of the top of the middle of the ACC.
Yeah, something about that. So, all right. Where are we going to next?
Where you want to hit up next? You want to talk about?
You want to talk about the Qs?
Yes, from New York, the Syracuse Fighting Orangemen.
So Fran Brown's debut season was pretty good last year. I mean,
I'll say.
I mean, they basically won. They win 9. They went what 10-3?
10-3, man, at Syracuse. Huge,
unbelievable year. He had everything go his way. They were the benefactor of a good schedule last year.
They were, no doubt.
This year that changes. I think the challenge this year is offensively. They are probably almost at the bottom of the country in returning offensive production.
Yeah,
there's 133 Division I programs. I think they're about 128th on offensive returning production. So this really is obviously they had Kyle McCord last year. This is all new basically for this.
He was the revelation last year. They don't have him. It'll be interesting. I think are they going to go with Carlos Rio Wilson maybe or I think they also brought in I think they brought in a transfer guy.
Well, they brought in Ricky Collins from LSU.
Right. So
Jakari Williams is the backup. I mean, there's I don't even know who's going to end up with that job. So
I don't know either. I don't think they have not announced it to my knowledge who's going to end up with that job
as of this taping. They have not
as of the taping. I will say that their schedule is interesting. You got that opener against Tennessee, neutral site. I think you got a couple of these games. But then you basically play like all of the tough teams in the ACC and Notre Dame and Tennessee.
And their entire starting lineup from last year is basically gone.
Right.
So we can't take anything from last year. And so I think there's going to be a drop-off.
It would not surprise me. I think there'll be a drop-off. And that doesn't spell doom for the future of Fran Brown's program there. I think actually he's building really well. He got a commit from a 5-star wide or borderline 5-star, high 4-star wide receiver, which is huge at Syracuse. But that doesn't factor in this year.
Look at the toothpaste. Look at after toothpaste there. After September 12th.
Never lose to toothpaste.
You never lose to toothpaste. Don't lose to food. Look at that. Clemson, Duke, SMU, Pitt, Georgia Tech,
Carolina, Miami. Holy, what a brutal schedule.
I mean, that is horrible for a team. I mean, there's just not a lot of wins in that group there. Maybe Carolina.
Odds are they probably win one or two just from like playing enough games, but like that's really tough.
That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 games. I bet you're probably going 2-6.
Yeah.
I mean, they may not make a bowl this year, and I don't think that's a reflection of Fran Brown. I just think,
Yeah, I have them at 5-7.
Yeah. What do you have them going 5-7?
Yeah, 5-7.
Yeah, I think that feels about right. But they may not even make that. I mean,
they may not. They may be 4-8, but
yeah, 4-8. But it's just, and again, I think Fran Brown's a good coach. I think I'd like to see him be successful there. I'd like to see Syracuse be a good program like it used to be, but I think this is not the year for the Orange.
No, it does not appear to be. Well, I think it's about time that we head to the rolling foothills of the Appalachians in Charlottesville, Virginia. UVA, Virginia Cavaliers, of course, your alma mater.
Mm-hmm.
Man, it's been a rough couple of years for the Hoos. And the one thing that they have going for UVA this year is you can say that they have an incredibly easy schedule. They have
it's got to be one of the easiest in the country.
Yeah. No, I think it is the easiest schedule in the country.
There are no ranked teams on this schedule.
Let me pull up the schedule real quick so y'all can see just the absolute 80s dream that is the Virginia Cavaliers football schedule.
Louisville is the only one that might be ranked at some point.
Maybe Duke. But like, look at this: Coastal Carolina, NC State, William & Mary, Stanford, Florida State, Louisville, Wazoo, Carolina, Cal, Wake Forest, Duke, Tech. They play basically the entire bottom of the ACC.
I've seen some crazy things out there on the internet and Twitter recently. I've seen some college football analysts throwing out 8-4 and 9-3 for Virginia.
You did tune in at the right time.
You did read. I've seen some people saying Virginia's going 8-4. Some people going 9-3. I don't know what they're thinking. Now, let me make a case here for Virginia. You're
going to hear my prediction in a minute, and I'm going to agree with Reed.
Okay, Chandler Morris. I think he had a really productive season at North Texas. I think their offense is going to be. I think he has the potential to really be explosive. The defense, they're 18th in the country in returning production. I think the defense is going to be decent. I think they did get some talent in the portal. I think they did a decent job there. And they brought in a lot of veterans. I mean, they avoid Clemson. I think you just look at pretty much the schedule. I think they could get to 6 wins, maybe 7, perhaps, because they're playing a bunch of scrubs.
They are paying a bunch of scrubs.
Not because I believe in Tony Elliott.
They are playing a bunch of scrubs. I think the problem here is that even with this incredibly weak schedule, they are just not built to beat almost every team they're going against is going to have a better head coach.
That's
right.
True.
And that's not a good sign, first of all.
You convinced me. They're going to go 5-7. You're right. 5-7 or 4-8.
All right. I have them at 4-8.
Okay, so let's count it off. Coastal's going to be a win. William & Mary's a win. Stanford's a win.
North Carolina's a loss. Stanford's a win. Florida State's a loss. Louisville's a loss.
Wazoo's a win. I'm at 5.
Wazoo's probably a win.
4. No, I'm at 4. Wazoo's a win. Cal's a win.
They are pretty injured as well.
Wake's a win.
Really?
Coastal. William
Are you
Mary,
sure
Stanford,
Wake Forest is
Washington,
a win?
Cal. I've got 5. Am I sure what? Wake, Cal, you got 6 wins.
Okay, are you sure Wake and Cal are wins?
Cal's dreadful.
Cal is very bad. Are you sure Wake Forest is a win? Because
yes,
I don't think Virginia has the defensive line to pressure Wake at all. And if there's no pressure in that slow mesh system, you get diced.
No, I think Virginia's defense is better than I think they can handle Wake. Wake is in a rebuilding situation as well.
Right, but yeah, I don't know. I think Tech is a loss. I think Duke's a loss. Yeah.
You got Coastal.
Wake is
They're gonna
not
marry
good
Stanford.
team, but I just
Right.
don't think that Virginia is specifically like a good matchup for them. I think Wake and Virginia are about equivalent teams wise, and I think Wake has got a better coach and a better scheme.
Coastal will marry Stanford, Washington State, Cal, Wake Forest. There's your 6-6 bowl game.
Yeah, 5-7 maximum. 5-7 maximum.
I don't know, but you see some of these people predicting.
Yeah, that's what I'm
8-3,
saying.
8-4.
Wait, you really think Tony Elliott's figured out how to stop the slow mesh with no pass rush?
No, probably not. No. Yeah, this team. I'm actually afraid that if they do have a good year, that Tony Elliott's going to get a contract extension. That's my biggest fear.
Yeah, a good year for UVA is they do bad, so they fire Tony Elliott. That's the best outcome UVA could have from this season.
Oh, and beat Virginia Tech. That would be the worst. Oh, that would seal it. He'd get a 10-year contract extension.
Yeah.
This program's rough right now. Reed,
yeah.
I don't know. You got that. Yeah, Reed, you go into the game, we'll factor in a few losses. So
that may.
No, I think you're probably right. Probably 5-7, 6-6. I don't know if that's enough to save his job, but 6-6. It is the worst schedule in the country. I've seen multiple places talk about that. It's an embarrassment that we're a Power Four, and you're avoiding pretty much all the tough teams.
Why are you scheduling like this, Virginia?
I think it's just how it happens. I don't think they try to schedule, but they don't schedule anybody tough out of conference.
Never. No.
Coastal, Washington State, and William & Mary.
At this point, like, just take check games. Like, what are we doing? Go play at Alabama. Like,
go play. Go take a check and get killed.
Right? Like, yeah. All right. Well, speaking of the Demon Deacons,
yeah, please do, because I think they're going to be down near the bottom. I don't understand why.
Look, I don't have them rated very highly. Let's be clear. I also have them at like 4-8, 5-7. So I don't think that they're gonna be doing too hot. I think pull up their schedule real quick. I think they've got a rebuild basically across the board. They did get Robbie Ashford, quarterback.
Oh my goodness, that guy! I think he started playing college football when I was in college.
Yeah. The saga of Robbie Ashford never ends. He is now the Wake Forest quarterback. They got a bunch of transfer guys, a lot from lower tier programs, but they basically are the same team they've always been at Wake Forest. They run that slow mesh. They get a lot of yards. If you have pass rush and corners, you beat them. If you don't, they can beat you. I think a lot of teams on Wake Forest's schedule will have pass rush and corners.
Are they running the slow mesh now? I don't know that they are.
They've switched it up for sure.
I thought the new Dickert hired the new offense coordinator, the guy who was at South Alabama, and I'm not sure they're running the slow mesh. I think they're going to run more of a power speed kind of offense, a lot of RPOs, zone reads, things like that.
Okay, well, yeah, it'll be interesting. I do like Jake Dickert. I think he did a good job for his 1 year at Wazoo, and it'll be interesting to see where he goes. But
yeah, Nacho Man 57 joined in and says, I can't remember when Wake ever was good. Yeah, it takes a little
while. They were ranked a couple of years ago.
A couple of years ago, they had one decent season, and that was it. But we're still living off that. Again, Wake UVA, that's not a game that's going to make – that feels like a CW game at noon, doesn't it?
Yeah, CW, ESPN Plus. Yeah, I think we'll see about Wake Forest. Let me pull up their schedule real quick. Let's see. Here's their schedule. Kennesaw State, Western Kentucky, those should be wins. But then you get NC State, Georgia Tech. Those are probably losses. Virginia Tech, Oregon State, probably losses. Maybe toss up at Oregon State. SMU, Florida State, loss. Virginia, I'd say toss up loss. Carolina loss. Delaware win. Duke, yeah. So like 4-7 or 4-8, 5-7 is about where I have them.
They're not winning 5 games.
3-9, 4-8.
3-9, 4-7. They're just not very good.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not totally disagreeing with you on that front.
The only team that's going to be worse than them with a definite is Stanford.
Yeah, holy cow, man. Yikes, the Stanford Cardinal. They have got man, how the mighty have fallen. I remember when Stanford was producing Heisman Trophy finalists and top 5 AP poll rankings, winning Pac-12s, and now they're scraping the bottom of the ACC with Wake Forest, man. Ooh, it's
Well,
been
you
a
know,
fall from grace, and they are they've got some structural challenges in the new college football world that a lot of other schools don't. They've been slow to adapt. They aren't really spending like they could be. They have tons of money. They have the largest endowment and one of the largest donor bases or the second largest endowment and one of the largest donor bases of any Power 5 program. And if they really wanted to, they could invest in football. But I think they're probably just going to build another computer lab or another big building. And until they make football a priority there and actually force admissions to like get with the program, like Notre Dame and some of these other guys do. Yeah, they basically did just give up on, now they didn't completely give up. They are trying to rebuild. Frank Wright's the new head coach, right?
Andrew Luck is now the general manager.
Andrew Luck's the general manager. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think they've had to have a reset. I think maybe 5 years from now, there's
They could
probably
get
a
it
plan
together.
in place.
Yeah.
If they can stay competitive. They didn't bring Luck on. I don't think Andrew Luck would have taken the job if he didn't think he could do something with it and they would have the resources.
Yeah.
That term we used last night, alignment. I think there's probably alignment. Is Frank's the interim, so we don't know where they're going to go with that. Frank was, obviously a former head coach in the NFL, been around the NFL forever. But they just went through a lot of roster turnover in the spring because of the coaching change. And so I just don't know how this team's going to be competitive this year. I don't know that they've got the capability, especially offensively. They were just dreadful last year.
Yeah.
They don't return a lot of players. They're going to be, they're set up to be in the bottom of the conference. I don't know how they're going to compete on the field very well this year.
Yeah, and their schedule is not really a cakewalk either. They have at Hawaii and at BYU in the non-conference. They could lose. They could definitely lose at BYU. Hawaii is not a great team, but they should win that. They've also got SMU, Florida State, Miami, Carolina. Those are all almost guaranteed losses. Virginia, like who are they really beating on this schedule? Definitely not Notre Dame. Cal, it could be Cal.
Maybe,
but like,
I mean, they're beating Hawaii. They're beating
San Jose State. Maybe, although San Jose State might actually be sneakily a
better,
decent as a G6 team.
Yeah, this is 3-4 wins max, I think.
Yeah, I think you kind of max out at 4 wins here.
Yeah.
Unless, whatever, right? You never know with some of these teams, but it doesn't look there. If they end up better, then there's no way to predict it because it doesn't look great.
They're going to be the Purdue of the ACC this year.
Yeah, I think agree with that. They're probably going to be power rated well outside of the rest of the P4 would be my guess.
I would think so. Yeah. So, well, we're done with the ACC, right?
Yeah. Let's talk about ACC Championship.
Here are your predictions.
My prediction was Clemson over Georgia Tech. I know it's a hot take, but you gotta. It's the ACC. There's always some random team that gets to play Clemson and then lose. So I think this year it'll be Georgia Tech.
Yeah. Well, my hot take is, first of all, man, Clemson fans love to come to Charlotte, man. They just take over that city, drive up the road.
I think Clemson wins. Yeah.
Clemson's going to beat Miami in that game, and we're going to get into a podcast later about our playoff picks and how the whole season breaks down. But I think Clemson and Miami are playing that championship game, and then the question is Miami going to be? Is that going to be a playoff spot for Miami? In my opinion, and you'll have to wait till a later podcast till I break that one down.
Yeah, and I don't know what the odds are right now, but I picked up 2 units worth of Clemson national title ticket way back in the spring when it was, I think, like 20-1 or something.
Yeah.
And it's come down a lot since then, but I think I'm pretty high on Clemson, as most people are.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, man, we've covered one conference, man. I'm ready to go. I know everything
Rolling
about every
through.
team. We're good.
What are we hitting next?
So Sunday night we will do the half of the Big Ten. So I think we'll cover. I think we're going to start out with some Ohio State.
Yeah.
Maybe a little. You saw the list I sent you, but we're going to cover half the Big Ten. We'll start talking about some of those programs, and we've got a lot of national title contenders and talking about their teams that have a lot of playoff.
A lot of new faces in the Big Ten at the quarterback position. A lot of intriguing talking points. A lot of great storylines.
There are.
Somebody is going to come out of the Big Ten next year really happy, and somebody's going to be really sad. So tune in Sunday night to find out what we think.
Look on the socials. It'll probably, I don't know what time we haven't
decided.
Yeah.
I'll be throwing it up on my Twitter at least, probably Instagram as well. Make sure, hey, if you watch this far into the video, like and subscribe on YouTube. Share the podcast with people you know that like college football. Appreciate all y'all for watching. And we'll see you later. Good night.
Thanks. Good night, Canada.